Real quick, time for takeover devlog number 10, I think. This one's going to have a comparatively small amount of new stuff than the last one did, because, you know, I'm going to start trying to upload these more regularly, rather than just having months with no updates whatsoever and then randomly big thing, you know? I feel like having more regular stuff is probably, you know, the better thing to do here. Most of the stuff I have to talk about in this devlog is general gameplay improvement stuff rather than new content. I'll briefly show off what Stage 8 has, which is next to nothing, but I'll briefly show off what Stage 8 is and talk about it at the end of the devlog. Right now, let's talk about Screen Wars improvements. I said in the previous devlog that he needed buffed, and he has received them. Firstly, the projectile now does 9 damage instead of 8. Secondly, the aerial basic has a much larger hitbox now, so it's easier to hit enemies, does the same amount of damage. The regular basic has been untouched because it's pretty good. And the dash move, the damage of it has been doubled. Instead of inflicting 1 damage every single time it hits, it now does 2, which, you know, significantly better. You may have noticed that enemies now show damage numbers whenever they get hit. Rise 3 has that mechanic as well, which I retroactively added to this. It functions differently than it does in Rise 3. Substantially better than it does in Rise 3, but yeah, same basic concept. Another thing is that the way enemies knockback works has been altered. Enemies now get launched a lot more vertically and a little bit more horizontally. The knockback resistance is the same across the board, but if an enemy is knocked back, then they get knocked back significantly further. Another thing I want to show off, let me go ahead and jump into Stage 1. These now have names on their health bars. Ooh. Which I don't really think anyone cares, but I think that's neat. Another thing is that whenever you hit an enemy, it shows that white strip where the amount of health that was taken off, which I think is neat. We do a weaker attack. And the same thing applies to the player health bar. Look in the top left. Yeah, the same thing. Damage numbers also obviously show up when the player gets hit too. Now, showing off some stuff that's changed about Endless. Firstly, the health bar at the top now shows when an enemy's been damaged, in addition to, you know, previously, whenever an enemy would die, all of the health that enemy had would be taken off the health bar. Now it works every time an enemy gets hit, which is how it should have worked. It's a little buggy right now. The way Endless works in general probably needs a complete overhaul because it's the least clean and optimized thing in Takeover, probably. Takeover in general runs pretty good, but Endless runs fine. It's just the way it works is stupid. Another alteration that I've made is that there is a cap for how difficult Endless could get. The total health of the way it works is that the total health every enemy has a maximum, right? And that maximum increases every wave. Let's say on the first wave, 20. The next wave, the two or three waves down, it's like 40, right? It increases every couple of waves. Well, now the total amount of health every enemy has cannot exceed like 300 something. The last enemy is always going to have, you know, a bit extra, but the cap is set at 300. And once it's above 300, no more enemies spawn. That's how it works now, rather than Endless getting infinitely more difficult. Obviously, it's still Endless. It's just, you know, yeah. Another alteration is that the bosses, Roderick and Gore Behemoth, no longer spawn in Endless. Previously, the regular enemy variants of those two, the ones with reduced health that show up in Stage 4 and 5, could spawn in Endless, and now they don't. The reason for this is because it's extremely annoying to to go to the next wave and then just see like 4 Rodericks walking around. But yeah, Izalok is still probably the best character to use in Endless because his basic has splash damage. Grotkin and Boglet were the best character before they were removed. If you want to see how they perform in Endless, the public build still has them, I believe. The playtest build does not. So, yeah, if you go to the link in the description, you can still play as Boglet, I guess. If you're using the link on the Discord, you can't play as Boglet, but you have access to Stage 6. I haven't added Stage 7 to the private version, nor have any of these gameplay alterations been added to the private version. One more thing I want to talk about that I forgot to talk about earlier is that the way jumping works has been altered. You now have a maximum falling speed, which wasn't a thing before, and now that, that issue that Takeover had earlier on, where you would hit the jump button as soon as you land and it would cause you to double jump, doesn't exist anymore. There was an update to the playtest version that severely mitigated that, made it far less likely to happen, but now it's basically gone entirely. I have not had it happen. You have to do it like really early to get it to happen. Like that. That's how early you have to get it to happen. But effectively, if your feet are touching the ground and you press the jump button, you're going to do the regular jump, which is good. Overall, I think these game feel improvements are a good addition to the game, but now let's get to the major reason I've been playing Endless. Brutic exists. On Wave 20, a boss will spawn. Brutic has a basic attack, which looks like that. He's got this dash move that happens if you get too far away from him. And he's got that spin move that happens every once in a while, regardless of how close you are to him. And you have to jump it if you're near him and attacking him. It's a fine enough boss fight for what it is. He's got the same knockback resistance thing that the bosses of Stage 4, 5, and 6 have, where after he gets knocked back, he temporarily becomes unable to get knocked back for about 10 seconds. His knockback resistance is 8, which means every character in the game has an attack that can knock him back. And whenever you beat him, you go back to the regular Endless thing, and you receive full health. So, yeah. Jumping into Stage 8, which is the Ovalik. As you can see, it's snow-themed. This is the first enemy type in the level, the Blurm. He doesn't do anything right now, it's just a static image, but there he is. Woo. He's going to function like the Gruntus do in Knights, where he runs back and forth, and if he hits a wall, he changes directions. Pretty, basic enemy type, but whatever, he exists, and I think that's the important part. In regards to what I want out of this level, like probably 3 to 4 enemy types and then a boss at the end. I don't really know what the stage gimmick will be. Having like sliding physics, for the ice, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. That's the worst part of any video game ever. So it's just going to be like a regular snow level. And I don't really know what the gimmick will be, because the last 2 levels have had that. Stage 6 was the mini boss gauntlet. And the Fields level was, it had the big fire chase room thing. I don't really know what gimmick this level is going to have, nor do I know what gimmick the following level will have. I think they're both going to have some sort of small thing to separate them from the other stages. But yeah, this is where Takeover is right now, and I think that's pretty neat. I'm probably going to upload another playtest build sometime soon-ish. But yeah, right now this is where the game is. Ooh.